Welcome back to SEOleverage.com. This is episode 66. And if you've been here for a while and listening to our show, you know we're doing all kinds of SEO and we're working with quite a few online courses, Shopify sites, coaches, and other companies here as well. But definitely a lot of courses are interested in getting more traction to their course, growing their course. And now I know that with SEO, we have been getting great results, hundreds of leads, thousands of leads at times. But I'm very aware and humble enough to know that SEO should not be the only pillar below your marketing strategy, which is why I'm very pleased to have an expert in the paid area and online course promotion, John Ainsworth, with me today. Welcome, John.
Thank you very much. Well, glad to be here.
Awesome. You're running an agency called Data Driven Marketing, founder and CEO of this company. And I know you've been doing funnels for quite a few years. Could you give us a little bit about information about your background, where you come from? How did you end up doing funnels, and specifically for courses? Apparently, this is interesting.
Yeah, so I worked in fitness marketing for many years, and I was head of campaigns for Sport England, which is the government organisation for sport in England. And then I set out my own business and ran that for a long time. And we would do campaigns and promotions to get people into kickboxing or yoga or walking groups or whatever different kind of activities. And I read .com Secrets when it came out. And I was like, oh, this is interesting, this funnel idea. And so I started working on funnels for that. And they worked so well. There's specific kinds of funnels that worked for fitness clubs and groups and walking groups, that kind of thing. And we really got that nailed. We got it working incredibly well. And what happened was we would fill up gyms, or we'd fill up kickboxing clubs, or we'd fill up the walking groups. And once they're full, they don't need you anymore. And they don't pay you anymore. And I was like, this sucks. I was like, this is no good to me at all. You can't run a business this way. So I was like, okay, what do I do? Do I do my job worse? And I was like, well, how about if we go after people who've got more capacity? So I started working with online businesses, e-commerce, SaaS, and then online course businesses. And I just found it was like the sweet spot for me. It's like totally, this is exactly the kind of people I should be working with. Because most online course creators, they are an expert in the field. They spent years becoming expert at something. And then they've gone and created a ton of content online that might drive traffic through SEO or YouTube or however they get the traffic in. And they've got all this traffic and they've got these courses that they start making, which are amazing and people love, but they generally don't understand, how do you convert the traffic into someone actually buying? How do you convert from someone getting onto your website through to them actually buying your courses? And the things that work the best there is these funnels and then email marketing. And so that's the stuff that we really focus on. And what we found, we've built up the system and we've chipped away and just narrowed it down to the crucial bits that work the best. And the average results that people are getting now is 486% increase in revenue. That's kind of the average results that people get once they implement the whole system. Because there's so much, they've built up all this potential and they just haven't put this bit in the middle that actually converts the potential into revenue.
This is amazing. 5x results is definitely amazing. I can relate to quite a few things of this story. So first of all, we were doing fitness marketing as well. I can relate to funnels working there. We did paid funnels. This was a few years ago. We kind of had like a side of the business focus on this. I can relate to the industry investing, filling up gyms and not hearing from them again. So we can really relate to this story. 5x results is really, really interesting. And we have had a conversation earlier, and it was interesting that you grouped problems courses run into three different groups. So if I remember this correctly, you said they either don't have enough traffic, leads, or make enough sales per or revenue per sale. Can you speak on those problems a little bit? Maybe start with the traffic.
So what we're generally doing is we're normally working with people who've got enough traffic, but what they're not good at is converting that traffic into email subscribers. Mm-hmm. So the three things that we see are their revenue per sale is too low. Their number of people on their email list who buy is too low. And the number of people on the email list as a whole is too low. So they're not getting enough of the traffic converting into the email list. So just kind of start with the email list you asked about. Mm-hmm. There's like a few things, and they are really straightforward and not necessarily easy, but they're not complicated. And doing those can somewhere between 2 and 10 times the number of new email subscribers people get per month from their existing traffic. So on average, most people have got somewhere between a 0.5% and a 1% opt-in rate. And if anybody wants to know how to figure that out, just take the number of people you get onto your email list each month, divide it by the amount of website traffic you have, and times by 100. And that's going to give you that number. So, and it'll probably be somewhere between 0.5 and 1%, because 95% of people I talk to are like that. If you do a good job, you can get normally to about 2%. Great, you can normally get to about 5%. The best we've ever seen is 9.3. And there's 3 simple things everybody can do as like a starting point to improve that. Number one, and this is so easy, it's mind-boggling, is turn off double opt-in. So the reason that people have this double opt-in thing, and they use that in their email marketing, is because they're worried they're going to have people on the list who it's not a real person. They're not actually wanting to be subscribed, or they didn't confirm they're subscribed. So they're not going to be a good email subscriber. It's going to look bad for their deliverability, and it's going to reduce the deliverability of their emails. The problem with it is some of those people, quite a few of those people who put their email address in, don't click the link because they're busy and they just don't notice that email come in and they don't get around to it. And they would have been good email subscribers. So what we're seeing is you can, on average, double the number of leads on your email list from turning off double opt-in. And we've seen on average revenue go up by about 20% just from doing that. Now, what do you do then if people on the email, some of those people actually, it wasn't the right email address, the deliverability could suffer? What we suggest is after about every 2 or 3 months, get rid of the people who haven't opened their emails in the last 3 months and just do a clean that way. But you want to give people more than one chance to be on your list. If they open any of your emails, then they're clearly a good subscriber. They want to be on your list. Whereas if you take them off, if they don't double opt in, then you miss a lot of those good people. So that's the first one I'd say.
I think this is really interesting, but how about the legal situation? Many countries you have to do this legally, this double opt-in. You need to confirm that they actually subscribed and confirm which IP address actually confirmed, etc.
You sure? I've not come across that. Like GDPR in Europe, you have to have somebody who've actually chosen to go onto your list rather than have a lead magnet. So what's the stuff you're saying about?
What I know is that essentially, and I actually thought it was a TDPR where you need to confirm, because I could essentially sign you up with your email address for some newsletter, right? So I think there was some legal requirement. I just heard this from a few clients where they had to kind of confirm and send this confirmation email, essentially, this double opt-in. Just specifically, I think from Germany, from Austria as well. So I know this more from the German-speaking countries, where you can actually get sued if you don't do the double opt-in. So whoever listens to this, at least double check probably.
Double check
if this is a good idea, or if you're ever. I have heard also clients to definitely, based on your suggestion, essentially turn off the double opt-in, but then really count on certain lawyer fees to sort out eventual problems they were getting from German users, for example, requiring this double opt-in or claiming there should be a double opt-in and there was none, etc. Just because it definitely absolutely works better. So I've heard the same thing. You get more leads if you turn off the double opt-in. I would just recommend everybody check on the local situation wherever this is, in case this is a requirement.
I'm going to check up on that as well then, because I had not heard about that. Yeah. So the second thing to get more people onto their email list is to show the lead magnet more often on the site. So if some people have just got their opt-in is like, get onto my newsletter, and that's a terrible opt-in. You want to have a lead magnet and say to someone, sign up for my newsletter, and we're going to send you this free gift. We're going to send you this thing that is going to be valuable to you. And generally a lead magnet should be something where the person gets a result straight away, a template, a swipe file, a calculator, a quiz, something along those kind of lines. But a lot of people have got a lead magnet, but they just don't show it very often. And so the easiest thing to do is to put that in more places. So have a pop-up on the website for someone to sign up for it. Go to all of your blog posts and include what we call an inline opt-in form. So as someone is scrolling through the blog post, let's say it's 2,000 words blog post, top, middle, and bottom, there should be like a banner or an ad or a form for someone to actually opt into your newsletter. Mm-hmm. And we had a client in the personal development space. So we're getting 100 opt-ins a week. We put the lead magnet in every single blog post and an exit intent pop-up and a regular pop-up. And it went up to 800 opt-ins a week instantly. So for those guys in particular, 8 times the number of new subscribers that they were getting every month. We had someone in the digital painting space. Their opt-in rate was 3.49%. And when we added the lead magnet to every post, improved the pop-up, and the conversion rate went from 3.49 to 7.5%. So it's quite a dramatic, somewhere between kind of 2 and 10 times increase from this approach alone.
Absolutely. This is really interesting. We're just running right now some ads on YouTube and found just by actually pointing, showing a button, even if there's no button you can actually click on in a video, but essentially adding a button image in and actually in the video saying, please press this button, you can essentially by 30, 40, 50% increase the click-through rate to the landing page. So people actually need to be told what to do, not only visually, but also verbally. So even in your text, we have seen in the text, if you say, okay, now click this button, it works much better than if you just show a button and assume people actually know what they're doing, because they might be distracted, like you say, people might have tons of things in their hand and multiple windows open, multiple tabs open on their screen. So you really kind of need to think they don't give you the full attention at any point. So you kind of need to make sure that they get this on multiple ends. We have seen also pop-ups working very well. This is a little bit of a fight we have with our clients between, obviously they want more and more leads. We want better and better user experience. So there is a little bit of a balance we probably need to strike. We have seen sites where you open up the page and there were 8 different pop-ups showing up and then the exit intent, and this was really badly done. So I didn't even want to exit, but I got the exit intent pop-up. So you probably want to really track what works and what doesn't work. And we sometimes said, look, let's tune this down a little bit and see if it really makes a big difference or switch one of those off and really see if you're actually getting fewer of those leads, because the same that might opt in the first pop-up might also opt in at another place if they don't see the first one. But we have absolutely seen this as well. This is interesting, yeah. And another thing we definitely do with everybody is create what we call like a prototype article, where we just say, look, let's define one article on what a good article should look like, based on the same experience. Essentially, here we see people get a lot of traffic but no conversions. We say, look, let's make it a little bit easier to convert. And I very often compare this with when I moved to Spain and I saw there were pharmacy stores everywhere on every corner. There should be a call to action or a button on a website like they have pharmacy stores in Spain. Right? I'm not offending anybody here, but there's a pharmacy store everywhere, and there should be a call to action very close to wherever I am on this page. Right? It shouldn't be actually able to find those things. Very, very interesting. 100%. So the email list definitely has tons of potential. I like the examples that you have ready here for our audience to just see what the potential actually is in click-through rates, in conversion rates, in revenue, which is great. What else can we do in order to convert more people?
So if you want to get more people onto the email list, the third big thing is about pointing to your lead magnet more often from social media. And you mentioned this with YouTube, right? Some people have got a lot of traffic to their website, and some people have also got a whole big following on Instagram or Facebook or YouTube or somewhere else. Well, people generally don't buy direct from any of those places. People generally, the bulk of sales comes from the email list. So we want to get more of those people onto the email list too. So the crucial thing is to just point from your social media or from YouTube, whatever, to those lead magnets. Exactly the same thing. So you'll need a landing page for this rather than it just being a pop-up on the website. But in every YouTube video, have a call to action to go download your lead magnet. Don't put it at the beginning, because YouTube likes to keep people on site as much as possible, but somewhere at the end, tell them there's this free thing they can get. So for example, this guy, Ben Dazwolski, he runs WOD Prep, which is a workout of the day. It's part of CrossFit, like a CrossFit style tutoring YouTube channel. And if you go on to one of his videos about chin-ups, then he'll say, I've got a free guide about the ultimate guide to doing chin-ups. And you can download that at whatever it is, wodprep.com/chin-ups, something like that, right? And every single video, he'll have something like that in there. So as an example of what that should look like, he's a good one to go and check out. If you've got an Instagram channel with a lot of people following it, then every so often, every 10th post, something like that, point people to one of your free resources. And what you find is that it drives a huge number of people onto the email list. So that client I mentioned before in the personal development space, they had a big social media following, like 1 million people on Facebook, 1 million on Instagram, something like that. So they'd already gone from 100 opt-ins a week to 800. When they started mentioning the lead magnet on social media all the time, it went up to 5,000 a week. And then it's averaged 5,000 a week since then. So it's available. It's this thing that they'd already built up, but they just weren't using that to get more people onto the list.
Really interesting. I think what comes to my mind is when I think it was following, this was Frank Kern, who's really recognized in the marketing space as a very good marketer, very experienced marketer. And what he did, he was running an experiment, and he just showed on every single video, he didn't even mention it, he just showed the specific domain he created that brought people to a mailing list. So whenever he was on video, he had this domain. It was, I don't know, Frank Kern book or .com or whatever it was, right? And he didn't even mention it on the videos. But then a few weeks later, he showed how many book sales he made. This was a $5 product just by having this on the screen. So people checked this out while they were watching this video on a different device, got this book or went on to the email list. So just really giving people things to do that are very, very easy, very straightforward, so they can just take action by themselves definitely works. And yes, social media is definitely underused. People try to come up with weird dances and whatever on Reels. We're doing some tests on TikTok and really interesting how that platform works. And they try to come up with all kinds of weird stuff, but they don't think about maybe having a video talking about their book or their course or their lead magnet or the free resources, as you say. Also, really, really interesting. So we can certainly get more conversions from the email list. I am interested in the revenue though. So very often we see courses have like a very low entry price or very low tickets. Courses do to actually earn more money. So we essentially, just to frame this right, we very often see courses coming to us and they want help with their SEO efforts, and this is great. But one problem they tell us is that they don't extract enough money, enough revenue from their courses, because they say, look, this is a $15 course, this is a $10 course. We do get quite a few of them, but there's not enough budget to actually now reinvest in the business to grow. What can those people do?
So there's two main things. One is if people are just selling courses via the website, just via traffic that goes to the website, then they're missing out on the huge majority of sales. And it's much harder to sell something for a higher price if you're just selling it with someone going to the website and choosing to buy it. If you get those people onto your email list through the stuff we just talked about, and then do email promotions every month, then what you'll find is you can sell those exact same courses for a much higher price. And the reason for that is you've got someone's attention. You can spend, what we recommend doing is every time that you're running a promotion, you send 6 emails, and it's all about the same topic. And this is like the simple starter version to kind of get going. We do a more complex version for our clients, but it's 6 emails, and they are gain, logic, fear, going, gone. Those 6 emails, that's the structure every single time. And so the gain is about what is it that you are going to gain from solving this problem. So you've got some problem in your life, and this course is going to help you to solve it. Let's say it's training your dog how to be nicer around other dogs. Well, let's talk about that. Let's talk about what your life's going to be like when you have done that. How much easier is it going to be for you? You can go for walks more easily with your dog. They're less aggressive in the park. You can have a nicer time. You can hang out with other dog owners. Isn't that grand? And we've got a course that's going to help you to do it. And it's on discount this week for 30%. Mm-hmm. Now, if you're putting on discount for 30%, how are you going to be selling it for a higher price than you currently are? You just raise your prices. You just start off by you're going to raise your prices. Now, the easiest way to do that is keep your price the same right now, but tell everybody the price is going up and this is your last chance to get it at this price. And that's going to make you feel more comfortable doing it. So just do this one course at a time. So let's say you're selling your courses at the moment for $30. Do a sale via email where you tell everybody it's $30, but next month it's going up to $100. Or right after the next week it's going up to $100 or $70 or whatever you're comfortable with. And what we normally see is the perfect kind of price point in the B2C space for courses that you sell via email is somewhere around $100 to $200. That's a really easy price point to sell stuff at. We have clients selling stuff for $1,500, $2,000. But as just a rule of thumb, if you're selling things for like $29, you're not going to get as much money as you could be doing. So then the logic email is, what is the benefits? What are they going to get out of this? What is the just logical reasons why they should get the course? The fear is, what are they worried about? How can you help them to understand the situation and the problem and what they're going through better? So it doesn't have to be promoting your course here. It's just talking about, you're afraid that if you go to the park with your dog, it's going to be unpleasant, and then you're going to be disapproved of by other dog owners, and you're not going to enjoy that experience. And I get that, and that's difficult. And that's why we've made this course, and then talk about how the course helps them to solve that problem. And then the going, gone emails are very, very simple. They're things like frequently asked questions, testimonials. And in each of those emails, you're saying this discount is going away in 24 hours, 6 hours, 3 hours, last chance to buy at this price. And you can include a lot of useful value in those emails. You can make them non-aggressive, not too salesy, but just in telling people in every one, here's why this is useful to deal with this problem. Here's some useful information about the problem. And here's the fact that you can get a discount on it. And you will tend to find that somewhere around 0.3% of your email list will buy every time that you do one of these promotions, 0.3 to about 0.7. And it's not a huge percentage, but that can add up to tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of dollars a month. I've got a client in the language learning space. She was making a few thousand a month. She started doing email promotions. Now she made on average about $60,000 a month from it because she had a big email list and great courses.
Yeah, the email list is definitely a great way to build up this trust. We see with SEO, for example, we see people very often follow us for a year, 2 years. It's nothing rare before they actually take action, because especially SEO marketing, very often you have a lot of shady providers. You really need to build up this confidence and this trust into someone and check the results and see how they work and how consistent they are, etc., before you actually reach out. So we have seen email, especially when done like in a very conversational, very informal, very little pushy way, and just really providing value and making sure that those emails actually help people or are aimed at helping people be better off, work really, really nicely. So this is really interesting. I want to repeat this here for everybody taking notes on this show, possibly this framework. And I appreciate you so generously share this. I'm very fond of frameworks. We have our ERICA framework here for SEO. So now we have a framework for email promotion. So this is gain, logic, fear, going, gone. Definitely this going, gone. I think everybody knows this from any email list you're on, where they say it's only 24 hours, it's only 5 hours, next hour this is going away, etc. So this definitely is being used widely. I think what's really interesting is first the gain. So really focus first on the gain, not try to justify with features or with whatever characteristics of your product, but really focus around what they're actually gaining by this. And then somehow the logic must come. So they need to kind of justify to themselves why they're going to make this purchase, why this just actually makes sense. And the fears, definitely we see this in conversations with clients very often, have a lot of fears around SEO. And there are a lot of fears about investing in marketing and what it's going to do. And marketing is just never going to guarantee results. So obviously you need to make sure that they just make the decision from an informed point of view and address those fears. They're not going to be disappearing, but definitely makes a lot of sense to talk to those fears as well and just kind of express this empathy you have for the other person and say, look, I see what is about, what you're going through, what the decision-making process is. Here's how we think you can be essentially better off with this, right?
Yeah.
This is amazing. I want to ask you though, what do you think, how big should a course be when they think about starting something like this? I mean, I guess a few things after listening to the show, they're going to start implementing right away. Are you working with new courses that just start out, or are you working with more established courses?
So we don't mind how long someone's had their course, but the crucial thing is how big is their audience. So we'll only work with people once they've reached the point where they've got an organic source of traffic, often SEO, sometimes, YouTube or podcast or Instagram, what have you. And they've already got a few thousand people onto their email list. And so once someone's at that stage, then we'll tend to work with them, because what we're doing is we're not driving any more traffic. We're focusing on how can we convert more of the traffic onto your email list, the email list into buying, and then those people spending more money and buying more. So that's kind of our sweet spot. And I think it's harder to build an email list. Sorry, it's harder to build traffic than it is to build a course in terms of like more time consuming. Do you think that's fair? Like people spend years building up traffic, SEO traffic to their website.
Yeah, definitely a year or two at least to get to a decent level. And then obviously you keep refining. We see many people come from like from really an area of their interest. So they start, I like woodworking, so I'm starting a woodworking site. So I talk about the tools I have, about the different types of wood, and about the cherry board I just got and milled down and stuff like that. And so there are suddenly other people who share the same interest come in, and then at some point the course is there where it's okay, now I have an audience. Now I want to monetize it, or want to see how I can do affiliate deals or whatever. We work with a lot of affiliates as well. So this is where we essentially see this happen. But I agree that building up this audience essentially is definitely a very tricky part. And I see little advice on the internet on how to do this that's really tangible. So everybody kind of got to this point over the years. I think it's really timed. What really counts to do, be consistently authoring content, creating content around this, just to be at some point known for this kind of area. But also I think many people are not strategic enough. And this is where I see agencies like yours, like ours coming in. We just say, look, you can be building your audience over 10 years, but you can be smarter about it by adding making those conversion optimization things happening, for example, those suggestions happening, and just by having those calls to action in line in your article several times, you might have saved yourself 3 years of building up this audience, right? So this is also where we approach SEO. We see people do SEO for 10 years without getting tangible results. Whereas I look, if you 5 years ago had started to internally link your articles properly, you would be at a completely different stage with the same effort you're putting. And this is where we try to get people in the early stages look a little bit strategically into things, because I think it can save you a lot of time. And building up this audience is really, really tough. We do the same thing for SEO. We give advice. We are in several membership groups, in mastermind groups, give free advice every week on the podcast, on videos, etc. So we really try whatever we can in order to make this happen. But I understand once someone has an audience, it's definitely a way to extract revenue conversions out of this audience. Once you have someone like you with the necessary experience with your agency, with your case studies and examples, you already know what works essentially for this particular group. So I really like the specialization you have there.
Thank you.
Awesome. I want to be conscious of your time. Is there anything you think I should have asked you about this? I'm really not the paid expert. I'm paid ads expert in funnels. Anything you think I should have asked you, which would be beneficial for our audience?
So there's one you'd asked before about how can people get the most revenue from what they are offering. And there's two things that I'd actually say are the ones to do first that I want to just highlight for your audience. So they're called order bumps and upsells. And most people don't do these. And pretty much all funnel checkout software, all course software has these built in as features. And I would say start with order bumps. You can normally increase your overall revenue by about 20% by having order bumps. And so, for example, we had a client in the spirituality space. They increased revenue by about 50%. So they had an order, we put an order bump in, it gave a bump in terms of revenue. We then increased the price of the order bump and it went up to $27. And an order bump is just a tick box on the checkout page with another offer that somebody can get. And what you'll find is somewhere between about 40 and 60% of people who check out will buy that additional thing if it makes sense. And it's mind-boggling in how easy it is to do and how well it works. I was talking with a friend yesterday she's an email copywriter, and she was putting together her own course and setting up her own checkout pages. And she said to me, but that can't possibly work. All you're doing is like 2 sentences and you're suggesting that 50% of people are going to buy that thing. It's like, it can't be that easy. And I was like, that's how it works. You just have an appropriate offer and on discount on that page as the order bump, and it works amazingly. And then the upsell is on the next page. Someone's checked out, they've put the credit card details in, they've hit submit. The next page, having a one-click upsell of something else that people can buy. So, for example, we had a client in the home recording studio space, and he set these up and increased his revenue by about 20% within, I think, 3 days. He'd set up upsells for all of his offers. So those are the two I would say actually to start with. They're the easiest ones to do, and then start working on the stuff to increase your email subscribers and send out more promotions.
This is really interesting. I used to, for many, many years, whenever I saw this, I was like, yeah, this can never work. And then I talked to some marketing gurus out there. I remember a conversation specifically with Alan Dipp from the One Page Marketing Plan. when we met in Sydney, I think, in a marketing conference. And I was like, I really didn't never get why people do this. It can't possibly work if people set aside or make their mind and make actually this decision. And he just started to laugh. It was like, just test it, right? Just test it. I don't know why, but it just worked. And it was really interesting. So sometimes we have those, what they call them, limiting beliefs or like a limited mindset. I was very long of the opinion that nobody's going to buy our site audit, which is obviously a lot of work. We spend weeks on a site audit. Nobody's going to buy this without being on our email list for very long or stuff like that. And we see people go to our website and buy this because they have seen me on a video, or they have heard me talk about this, or have read the book and never reached out or something like this. So they just go to the website and buy. So very often it's just really a matter of trying. Give this a try. If you have a decent audience, if you have decent traffic, just see what happens. Nobody's going to get offended by you making an offer. And essentially, the more offers you make, the more sales you're making is a general rule. You can overdo it, obviously, but definitely appreciate you sharing your insights here as well. Might go do some order bumps on our own forms afterwards. Really interesting your perspective. We always try to get people with different experience in. We're obviously very search marketing focused here with Google ads, at the most Google ads, YouTube ads a little bit, but mostly really SEO. So absolutely appreciate you taking the time to talk to me today and share your experience.
Yeah, no problem at all. And if anybody wants, so I've said like the average being kind of the increase from doing all this stuff is 486%, but that doesn't mean that that's exactly what it is for each person. That's just the average. If any of your audience want to know how much extra revenue their business could make, we will figure that out for them for free. We've got a calculator people can fill in on the website. It's at datadrivenmarketing.co/calculator. And then we will personally go through for their numbers and figure out how much more revenue they could make. And then they can check, is this worth implementing? Is this worth me doing? Is it worth all the extra effort? And then and then we also send through some like training about how to do each of those things as well.
That's amazing. I was going to ask you where to get in touch with you. So datadrivenmarketing.com. People can find the calculator there. We're going to link to it in the show notes. .co. datadrivenmarketing.co/calculator. I'm going to link in the show notes to this. And also for everybody who wants to kind of read on the email marketing framework, on the order bump tips, etc., we have this is going to be episode 66 on our podcast, seoleverage.com/podcast, episode 66. John Ainsworth from Data Driven Marketing. Thank you so much for taking the time and giving all this advice and sharing your experience.
Very welcome. Thanks so much for having me on.
Thank you.